All right, ladies and gentlemen, back at it we're another episode in Vancouver. Yep. Tonight we got a really good special guest, man. I'm excited for this one. You know, it's an up and coming talent in our community. I mean, in boxing, period, man. So Eric Basran, for the people that don't know, is a local, legend in the making. I swear, this kid got a special talent to him, man. And introduce yourself to the audience that people might not know about you, Eric, man.
What's up, guys? Eric Basran here. I'm a 4-time Canadian champion as an amateur and currently 8-0 as a pro. So, yeah. Yeah,
man. And then, you had your last fight, recently, like a month and a half ago around there in Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
And that was for the Grand Prix or the WCB. I think it's a new tournament format that the new, what's his name? Turk?
Turkey Al-Sheikh.
Yeah. So, everybody's like commending him for like revitalizing boxing.
Exactly.
Because everybody been saying boxing is dying down, like, and they compared it to what they compare to UFC a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They're like, compared to UFC, it doesn't have that same, the hype.
The hype, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's cool what he's doing because, like, I remember, have you seen that new clip that he brought on where he's like, I want the ring to be cleared out?
Yes,
and he brought Crawford and Canelo. He's like, and he announced the fight. He's like, they'll be fighting in September.
Exactly, yeah. No.
So it is crazy, the scenes, and you being there, how was that like, man? Like, being in that environment and what's going on down there?
Oh, it was crazy, man. It was cool. I can't even explain how crazy it was, but honestly, being at that world level and this world stage, especially as a pro, because I've done it as an amateur, but as a pro, it's crazy, man. And just the atmosphere of being in Saudi Arabia, everybody was super nice there. Like, I'm excited to go back.
A lot of people don't realize, like, amateur and pro, because you turned pro in 2022, right?
2022, yes.
Yeah, so, like, before, like, people don't understand, like, the ranks and how big of a leap that is, coming from amateurs to pros. Like, what was, like, you felt like the hardest thing for you was when you took that first fight as, like, a pro?
Honestly, it's stylistically, man, because amateurs, like, go. Whereas pro, you have multiple rounds now. You need to slow down the pace, because if you go, you're going to gas out right away, right? So that was the biggest thing for me. But now, like, I'm in my 8th fight. Now I'm, like, getting into that pro pace, and I like it a lot, man.
Yeah. And what weight division do you fight? Have you fluctuated? Like, have you, like, experimented with different weight divisions? Or?
So I fought a couple times, like, catch weight, a little bit lighter, just to see if I could make, like, a lower weight class. I ain't trying to do that anymore. But so usually it's 135, but for this tournament I moved up to 140, which I'm comfortable. I got a big frame for 135 anyway, so 140 was easy.
And when you look at Eric fight, your wingspan is long, bro. So when your last fight with Johnson, when I was looking, like, every time it was so weird. He was so hesitant against you. I don't know his background when it comes to Johnson, but it was just crazy, like, how you dictated that fight that way you wanted to go.
Yeah.
And it commends, and this kind of respect to you, how you kind of do preparation when it comes to your fights leading up, right? And one thing I want to ask is, like, just kind of like take it like all the way back. Like, now you're at a pro level.
Yeah.
Like, people don't see that journey behind from when you were as a kid. Be like, I want to do boxing. That's not a first common thought to go in our community, especially in that community.
Exactly.
You'd be like, your dad be like, I want to be a boxer. That's be like, hell no, you don't be a boxer. People get their brains bashed in, like, no chance.
For sure.
So what made you want to even get into this sport? And, like, the financial aspect of it too, like, we'll talk about more. Like, it's not guaranteed, especially, like, at amateur level. You're not getting paid anything.
Exactly.
Right? So walk us through that, man. How was that, like, for you? Like, this is what I want to pursue.
So honestly, I started doing karate and kickboxing when I was 4. My dad kind of put me in it for, like, discipline and stuff like that, and just, like, kill some energy, because I was, like, a crazy kid, right? So I did that, and I was just progressing so much, and they saw that. And then I ended up going to this other gym. I was too young to do the kickboxing program there, so they said, you have to go in the boxing program. I was 11 at the time. And from the first day I tried boxing, I said, this is what I want to do. I loved boxing. I said, just the technical aspect, all that stuff. So from there on, then we started taking, like, amateur fights and stuff like that. And I was doing really good. And then I couldn't find anybody in BC to fight.
So, like, it was hard. Kids' asses.
Exactly. Like, it was hard to find fights. So then my dad started taking me Seattle, California. Like, I started fighting a lot in the States. And like I said, I just kept progressing. And I was ranked 2nd in Canada from when I was 16 to 17.
Wow.
And then I'm like, this is the big moment. I'm turning 18. This is seniors now. This is the group. It's 18 to 40. Now I'm fighting men. And you're still, like, young when you're 18, right? So I'm like, this is my moment to shine. And when I was 18, I won nationals, and I was on the Team Canada for, like, 4 years straight. I kept winning my title every year. And then I made the transition to pro. So it's crazy, man.
That's so crazy. It's just a heartwarming story too, because you're like, your dad took you to Seattle here and there.
Yeah.
And that's such a cool story, because your dad, you know what, like, this kid is special. You know, like, and he enjoys this too, because like, I think two things that get misconstrued in a lot of people is like, they want that family support, but they don't want to put in that work. Because like, your parents not gonna reward laziness. No, they're not gonna be like, yeah, if you're not good at it, why would I take you to Seattle? Because like, your parents must have saw something in you, be like, you know what, this kid got something special. And a lot of time, people now, they deflect that work ethic. They don't want to put that in equation. Be like, oh, my parents don't support you, but why don't they support you? Like, they're too hard on me, but why are they hard on you? Because that's their job, to be hard on you, to put you in a position to succeed. Because if you're not putting that work behind what you say you want to do, so why would they want to take you here? Why do they want to take time out of the day to put food on? You know, they put food on the table, period. That's what they're worried about. They're worried about survival. 100%. And that's the one differential that we have in our generation, where they worked from a fear level, we work from where we can take risks. They never had that ability. Right? And how was that, like, your relationship with your dad and your mom when you were, you know, going to different places to kind of just pursue what you enjoyed at the time?
Well, the biggest thing was my dad, he saw that he wouldn't even push me to go to the gym ever. It was never like, oh, Eric, like, you're being lazy today, you need to go to the gym. It was more like, Eric, you're almost pushing too hard. You need to chill a little bit. You know what I mean? So like, I was always, they saw that drive in me. So that's why they pursued to help me with what I was doing. It was never like, oh, like, we had to push him to do this, that. Like, they knew I was like about this, and I wanted to get to where I wanted to be, and I was gonna do anything to get there. You know what I mean? Like, I train my like ass off every day. Like, everybody thinks I just have natural talent, which I do. I was blessed with like having speed on my side, having the natural athletic ability, but I train just as hard as anybody else, like, or even harder. You know what I mean?
I mean, you know, it's a good thing that you pointed that out. A lot of people say, be like, oh, he got talent, like he was given that. But thing is, people don't realize, like, someone could have immense amount of potential, but their work ethic is lazy. It doesn't amount to shit. Exactly. Right? And someone who's lazy has a work ethic of, I mean, someone who doesn't have the same potential, but to have the work ethic of like a dog, will achieve far greater things than the person who has a potential that's lazy. Exactly. It's not even close. So, you know, the fact that, you know, a lot of people be like, oh, but he had this, but he had that. But I'm like, that has nothing to do with anything. Exactly. The work that goes behind, like, boxing is gruesome at times, man. And that's the one thing I was talking to Mook about. I'm like, man, people don't realize, like, when you started at a young age, like, even when your head pads or whatever it is that you're wearing the gear, like, it doesn't matter. Your head's getting banged up inside, right? Exactly, yeah. Do you ever had that with your talk with your dad? Be like, nah, this is kind of dangerous. Like, yo, are you sure you want to do this?
Nah, man, I loved it. From the beginning, like, obviously they'd be a little bit scared too. As you get older, when you're a kid, it's not as bad because you're not throwing that hard, right? But as you're getting into like maybe 15, 16, now you're starting to get a little bit of power behind those punches, right? It does start getting dangerous, but they said the minute that you're getting hit too much in your fights and like you're sparring, you're getting way too many shots, then this is not for you anymore, right? But I always worked on my defense like a lot. My defense is pretty good. I'm known to be kind of like a slick boxer and stuff like that. So that was the biggest thing for them. Like, they're like, if you're taking too many shots and we just see you being like a brawler like that, then we're pulling you out of the sport, you know? So, yeah.
And that's a scary thought too, man. Because like, one of the things that people don't realize is amount of injuries that people sustain, especially like being those brawler types. Like, I don't know if you saw, you know, that one Mexican that fighter that it was like the grand stage fight. He ended up becoming paralyzed after.
He's a Puerto Rican guy.
Yeah, the Puerto Rican guy. Sorry, not the Mexican. And it's crazy when you see like moments like that. It puts things into like context. But like, yo, this is like a dangerous. People die from this. Like, not get like minor injuries. Like, people die from this. And it's insane. Like, it takes a level of courage, bro.
100%.
Like, putting yourself out there in front of like hundreds and thousands of people to critique you. Because like team sport, like in a way, like, okay, you can have an off night. I can't have an off night today.
No one's in there to help you. You know what I mean? Like, you got your cornermen, and those are always important. Like, my coach, he's important to my, like, leading up to the training camp, even in the fight. When I get back to the corner, I need that help. I need to know what I need to do next round. But when I'm in that ring, in that round, I'm by myself. My coach can't fight for me, right? But he's going to help me get the tools to fight the guy. You know what I mean? But when I'm in there, I got to do it myself. So,
what's your because even you were just saying like the different weight classes that you were in. So just the mental aspect. What's your mental, like the amount of mental toll that takes with just how your body weight shifts? On top of that, you're boxing with like the amount of cardio that you're doing. Some people don't really have an understanding like how difficult that is. So like, give us a perspective of like the mental toll that goes behind that, just even trying to adjust within different weight classes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's hard, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys when they get outside of camp, they gain a bunch of weight. And then when they start camp, like they have to cut like 20 pounds, 30 pounds, whatever it is. Me, I like staying lean all year round. I'm not going to say I'm fight shape all year round, but I'm like really lean all year round. So maybe I have to cut maybe 10 pounds for my fight, maybe 12 pounds, nothing too bad. But it is draining when you're cutting that weight, then you have to regain it and like all the cardio aspect of it, like while you're cutting weight, you know, it is hard, but I say to the guys that get out of camp and they just get super heavy, it's on them kind of too, because like it's gonna be harder.
Like, what are you doing?
It's gonna be harder, right? So, cause it is hard. Like when you're in camp, like it's 7-8 weeks of just strict diet, being like, you know, strict to your diet, like hard training. So I understand why people do binge after their fights and get heavy, but like for me, I'm just like, I don't want to put that toll on my body, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still young right now. As I get older, it's gonna be like harder to fucking cut, right?
But that's crazy though. How do you have that discipline though? Because like imagine like, okay, you finish the fight, I'm like, man, I just want to go out, eat pizza, burger, whatever the hell. I want to go to Five Guys. Like, how do you, like, being young, it's not easy to be like, nah, I'm not going to eat bad food. Especially given nowadays, like, amount of accessibility you have, you ain't got to go nowhere. Shit comes to you.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
Like, where do you even get that discipline from, bro? Like, it's not easy to come from. Even sometimes I battle myself. I'm like, do I want to lose this weight? But I'm like, oh, I'll start tomorrow. You know, like the laziness creeps in. Where do you get that discipline from?
Honestly, I feel like people get complacent and they're like, okay, like, I'm done my fight. I'm going to eat whatever, this, that. Me, I'm finished my fight. I'm thinking, what's next? I'm not like, okay, I'm done this fight. I'm going to just eat whatever and just be lazy, right? I'm like, I'm finished my fight. Even though I might take that week off after my fight and just chill out, I'm not getting, like I said, I'm just not going to binge and go crazy. Maybe one day, like the day after my fight, I might eat quite a bit, whatever, have fun with it. But then I'm like, okay, what's next? Let's get to the drawing board, see what's next. You know what I mean? So I just want to get right back in camp and get another fight, you know?
Damn, that's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good mindset to have. I mean, that's a good mindset to kind of, a lot of people to, it doesn't even have to be even in boxing. That's a good mindset to have in any workforce you're in, whether you're actually in working, whether it's sport or whatever it is. Discipline is key.
Exactly.
Right? Because discipline can supersede even the stuff that you might not have. Like, oh, I don't have this ability, but guess what? Oh, but I can, with discipline over a period of time, anything can be accomplished,
100%.
you know? And then what would you say, like, the turning point was in your career? You'd be like, you know what? Like, I'm like that. I'm him. Like, I'm here. I'm here to tell people, like, ain't no one better than me. Like, because you have that confidence, too. Like, your bravado, you know? Exactly. You have that, like, people not beating me. Like, they don't stand a chance. Like, where was that turning point for you? Because everybody has that turning point.
Honestly, around, like, 16, 17, around there, because I started beating some really good guys when I barely had any fights. Like, I didn't have many, because it was hard for me to get fights, like I said, in BC.
Yeah.
So I maybe had, like, 7-8 fights, and I was beating guys with like 80 fights.
That's
like,
insane.
you know what I mean? So like I was like, okay, like I can do this, you know what I mean? So then after that point, it was kind of easier to transition to having that confidence in the ring. Because before that, I was like, okay, now I'm fighting guys with lots of fights. Like, this is kind of crazy, right? Because usually it's after 10 fights in the amateurs, then you open up, then you can fight like guys with a bunch of fights. Yeah. My coach opened me up at 4 fights. My first fight at open was against a guy from the States, and he had like 30-something fights, and I had 4 fights. And he was like ranked 3rd in the States, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I ended up beating him. And like, it was like, after that, like, you know, it's like, okay, I could do it, you know what I mean?
That's insane.
Yeah.
And you know, actually, one thing that Mo kind of pointed out that was actually is good, is the hydration clause, the weight cutting, and all that. Like, people don't realize how hard that can be on your body too, and then a lot of fights that don't end up happening either. Because, like, you know, I don't know if you've seen that. Like, there's a lot of videos where people go through this crazy camp and then fights end up being canceled.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that. You go through a camp and you say, like, 6-8 weeks, you're just cutting, you're making sure you got everything on your side, and now the fight doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't that fuck with your, like, psyche? But, like, man, like, all his hard work, like, just went to nothing.
Exactly. Because I've had that, but a different situation, not where I couldn't make the weight or anything. Yeah. It was, like, in the beginning of my career, because COVID was still happening.
Yeah.
And, like, I'd be done my camp, then all of a sudden, okay, no, the main event got COVID, shit. Fights canceled. Another one, injury or something like that, you know, fights canceled. It's like, oh my God, I had so many delays in the beginning of my career. Like, I feel like I should have been in like 14 fights already, 15 fights.
That's so true.
There were just so many delays.
Because you turned pro, right, like at that kind of end part of COVID almost.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it was still prevalent where people were dropping out of fights due to COVID and stuff. So that's insane. I don't know. It's actually insane to think like, you know, how the impact. I don't know if you saw. Did you see the Eubanks junior fight? Against Conor Benn.
Against Conor Benn.
Yeah, because like he was off by he weighed in twice. He was off by 0.5.
Yeah.
0.5 pounds, bro. Right? It was pounds or kg.
I think it's 0.5 pounds.
Yeah. And then he got fined $1 million. For that missing out weight. And apparently that goes to the fighter. I didn't know that. So Conor Benn.
I think that's the commission. I'm pretty sure.
Because Conor Benn said he's like, I'm $1 million richer. He said that on his story.
In the contract, so every contract is different. So maybe in their contract, it was like that.
Let's dive into contracts. It's a good thing to go. You know when like people set all these like hydration clause, because I think Eubanks had a hydration clause. Because the most recent fight, I just know on top of my head. Have you ever had like a lot of fights that had not gone through because of due to contract issues and whatnot, or?
No, because that's more with like the title fights where it's like kind of.
It's like more like way higher.
Exactly. Right now it's kind of building up. So my promoter deals with those contracts. I don't have to deal with any of the contracts and stuff like that. So it's pretty easy.
It's more like, okay. Is it more like when you get on like I guess like higher end fights like with
exactly. Like when you're fighting for like WBC, like big belts like that, then you got like more complicated negotiations and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it was interesting because I think with Eubanks he had a hydration clause where he couldn't get past I think certain weight after the weight cut in. But you know that's so interesting though when people do, because I think Conor Benn went up.
Yeah, he went up.
Was it a catch weight? Was it catch weight for Eubanks?
I believe it was at 160. I think it was middleweight.
It was middleweight. So that's around his weight. But I think one thing that I wanted to ask you about is like the catch weight aspect, because a lot of fighters put that rehydration clause for the fighter that's coming down, and they put a hydration clause on him for coming out, for even like as you said, like I don't want to go down to like 135 or 130 because and then on top of that, knowing like okay, I got to this weight, but like after you can balloon up to like 140 or whatever, but now they put a rehydration clause. Now you can't even.
Now it's harder,
So like that, when you actually go into a fight, what kind of impact does that have? Like now you're not fully 100% like yourself.
Well, especially like I said, like if someone's draining themselves crazy to make that weight and then they can't rehydrate all the way, oh man, it's gonna take a toll for sure. Maybe not in the first round, maybe not in the second round, but as the fight goes on, you're gonna feel your body get drained for sure.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I was wondering. I'm like, man, like we realize like, you know, like when in high schools, they take you to like boxing camps and you're just throwing hands. And I'm like, bro, it's a minute in. I'm tired. Like I'm tired, but when people don't realize how actually exhausting it is.
For sure.
Like people are like, why don't you throw more punches? But like, fam, they're tired. Like, like it's not gonna be just all out brawl because like the expectation they set on certain division weights. Like they look at heavyweight and then they look at some middleweights, a certain brawlers, and some lightweights are brawlers too. But thing is like they take that heavyweight aspect, be like, oh, that was exciting. And then they supersede the whole other divisions as well. Like, we want to see that. But, like, bro, that's not what it is. Like,
exactly.
That's why, like, you know, like, let's take Mayweather, for example. Some people consider him the greatest. Some people don't, right? But when you look at his record, like, you can't deny that. Like, he's not one, like, he's probably the greatest or not. Right? But, like, again, people say, oh, that's boring. That's a boring style. 100%. We don't want to watch that, like fight style. How do you overcome that? Because people like constantly like judge you, be like, oh, you're not exciting to watch. We don't want to promote you, or we don't want to have you here. Exactly. Have you ever had that throughout your journey, or like people criticize you for like, oh, like why are we don't want to have you?
Honestly, no. But like I said, styles make fights, right? So if I'm a counter puncher, if I'm fighting another counter puncher, like almost like my last fight, like I was fighting counter punchers. So you know, it's like it is hard because we're both not as active. But if a guy's pressing me and coming forward, then I'm gonna be crazy active. You know what I mean? So it is kind of crappy because styles do make fights, and I do understand from the crowd's perspective when they see it and they're like, oh, that is kind of boring because they're not throwing that much. But from a boxer's perspective, we are trying to find openings. It's just sometimes you don't see them right away. Exactly. And you don't want to get hit with something dumb just trying to press the guy, right? So yeah, it is hard.
It is, man. And then that was the one thing even when I was watching your fight, I'm like, you know, it's like a chess match.
Exactly.
You know, at the end of the day, that's what boxing comes down to. 100%. It's like, who's going to make that first mistake? And that's when, even when I was watching your fight with Johnson, is like one thing I kept on seeing is like, you hit him every time. And he had no answer. Then he started becoming hesitant. And then he became stagnant, but like, bro, I can't do anything right now. And, you know, and that's cool to see you studying your opponent and whatnot, you know. So, and that's another kind of that mind game aspect. How do you prepare for that? Like, you're in camp, you're studying. Do you study your opponents a lot, or do you just like, you know what? Like, I believe in myself, and I got this? Or do you be like, you know, I'm gonna study film, like what his fights are? You sit down with your coach and all that. Like, how long is that? Like, what's that process looking like?
I study a lot. Yeah. No, I want to, especially with the pros, because you know you're fighting one specific guy. Where if it's an amateur tournament, there's a whole bunch of different guys you might pull when you get there, right? But no, usually I'll always study my opponent and see their flaws and stuff like that. But the biggest thing with this tournament was they almost did it like an amateur tournament. When we got there, at the weigh-ins, I found out I was fighting this guy. I didn't know before that.
What?
So that's where that high-level amateur background helped out. So when I got there, I adapted quickly and kind of studied him a little bit, maybe the day before or whatever. And I'm like, okay, this is what I see. This is what I see. So that amateur background helped me a lot for that. But now, for my next fight, now I know who I'm fighting because now we have the brackets, right? It was kind of crazy.
How do you because like I know you can tell just not just boxing itself, like you see it. You'll see some like athletes that are very serious, in the sense of like they have something on their shoulder. They have a grudge on their shoulder, right?
Yeah.
So like they kind of they didn't really have a time to kind of shut off their mind and kind of just stay grounded in a sense. So do you believe that when you were first starting off when you're boxing that you had that mentality that I have a grudge on my shoulder, that is something to prove?
Yeah.
And if you didn't, then what kept you grounded? What kept you level-headed, being like, okay, I can stay patient, and that went into fighting knowing like I can be patient, and when I need to strike, I can strike?
Exactly. Honestly, the biggest thing about being grounded and stuff like that was just my coach teaching me to be calm and not go crazy in the fights and stuff like that. Honestly, because obviously, like my first fight, I probably did go a little bit crazy. I was a kid, like 11 years old, right? And like when you get in there and then like the lights are on you, it's not like sparring at all. Sparring and fighting are two different things. They're whole different things. So obviously, my first couple fights, I probably did go a little bit crazier than I usually did. But now it's just like knowing to stay grounded and stuff like that is just throughout the camp, just drilling and just getting those rounds and then just the experience. And now it's just like another day in the office, you know what I mean? So
okay. And then with the comparison of like the fighting techniques, the way, you know, fighters are trained nowadays, in comparison to like Eastern countries like Europe, Middle East and all that stuff compared to like Western. Yeah. What do you find the differences between the two? Like, because like, for example, if you look at Khabib in Israel. Khabib, right? So like his mentality is like they're not really attached to social media. They're not influenced in that sense. They're in the farm, and then I'm pretty sure you've seen those videos where they're like, "Yo, send your kid over." I've seen that. Whereas like Western, it's like a lot more influenced by social media and stuff like that. So in your own like your own personal perspective, like your own experience, like where's that division in that sense? Like
honestly, because I do honestly like how they train too, but I also like how I train too. So there's a little bit of they train more old school. And like now in the Western hemisphere, we train more of a new school kind of way, right? But honestly, I like bringing that old school into the new school. So with my coach, I tell him that too. Like, I kind of want our training camps to be how you're teaching me, like being smart behind everything. But I also like that old school mentality of like digging deep and dogging out in some rounds, right? So like, I like a little bit of both, to be honest. Yeah, and I think both ways work. But honestly, the old school way, if you take it too old school, then you're breaking your body down quite a bit too, right? You got to have a little bit of knowledge behind your body, nutrition, all that stuff. So that's where the new school kind of helps you in the camps. But then I like the old school kind of just dogging out and training hard, you know what I mean? Yeah, so.
And you know, like one thing, you know what I don't understand is like when it comes to like the boxing scene in Canada, I feel like it's so under, it has performed when it comes to the boxing. I don't know why. Because like let's say, let's take you for yourself, right? You're South Asian boxers. I don't know how many I can name on top of my head that are like household names. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can enlighten me.
There's not many,
There's not many at all. And when you put Canada behind it, like, for example, that tournament you're in, I think altogether there were how many? 100 and it's like 200 fighters altogether, like overall.
In the tournament, it was 120, I believe, or 100 something,
And how many represented Canada? I think 4 or 3 or 4.
Three,
Like, take that in, bro. Like, that's. I mean, come on, you gotta have more than that. Ain't no way we just have 3 people representing the country. Do you feel like it's hard for, as you said, like within having to grow up in BC and in the Canadian region, you feel like the competition ain't the same. Like, if I want to take myself to I gotta go to like you see those videos of like Mayweather's camp, they just like going at it. Like, you felt that? You'd be like, you know what? Like, I can't grow here.
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me was, like I said, growing up, fighting in the States, that helped me a lot throughout my career because if I stayed local, I wasn't going to get any fights anyways. I would have been like, I wouldn't have been progressing. But now I was going to the States and I was fighting high-level dudes all the time, and like that made me better and better. Then when I got to that senior level, I won nationals, and then I started going international. When I started going international, you could see that experience from fighting in the States. It helped me a lot and just to grow,
And that's such a good discipline to have for yourself too. But that's what I want to ask too. Like, how do you attain that discipline? Because you're in Vancouver area, like, you know, it's like a metropolis where a lot of people come here, like the party. You have a friend circle. Like, how do you avoid those circles? Like, did your parents like embedded that in you that like, okay, we want to raise our kid, right? We want to have those morals, the ethics that come behind you. Because when I see you, like, you're well put together. As like, even when I watch the interview as well after, like, okay, this is a person that I like. He could be a role model to people. Yeah. Like, as you're progressing in a career. Like, do you feel like you always had that chip on your shoulder? But like, you know what? If I do boxing, I'm a represent myself to the highest, where my boxing shows and my character, who I am, will inspire others behind me to come. Especially in our community, like being Sikh as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You always feel like you had that chip on your shoulders from having your parents tell you that, or your grandparents, or whatever it may be, and how that influenced you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, growing up when you're younger, it's hard because you're growing up around your friends. So obviously, I didn't always think of myself as a role model, but like obviously you're young, you joke around, whatever, have fun with your friends. But as I get older now I do want to be a role model for the kids coming up in this sport, or just in general, whatever they want to do, you know, just seeing that somebody from Surrey can do these big level things, you know. So I do want to be a good role model now, but as I was younger, that was never on my mind, you know what I mean? I just kind of want to progress in my career and stuff like that. But honestly, my parents always taught me just be respectful and stuff like that when you're out in public with your friends, whatever. Don't ever make yourself look bad, you know, because obviously if I look bad, I'm bringing bad to my name, my family, you know. So I always want to represent myself properly.
Who was your role model growing up as you progressed within boxing? Like somebody that, you know, that you look at based on their fighting technique, like, okay, this is maybe how I can adjust my own stance, how I fight and stuff like that. Who was that for you?
The biggest guy for me was Roy Jones Jr. That was my favorite. Yeah, that was my favorite. And then Sugar Ray Leonard too. Those are my two top guys that I watched a lot of. Yeah.
Sugar Ray, how many fights did he have? Like 90?
Crazy.
That's crazy.
The fact that he fought so much and the amount of dominations he did, like, like he dominated that division. I'm just thinking to myself, like, fighting 90 plus fights. Yeah. It's insane to me, crazy, man. Like, you would never think that nowadays. Like, as you say, like the old school mentality. People like, now you see, all those boxers have some sort of like either brain damage or this, that. Like, it's sad to see though, too. Did you see that interview that Chris Eubanks Sr. did? So he was on a TV, I don't know what it was, a TV show or something, and then he fought this opponent like 20 years ago, and he hit him so hard he caused him brain damage.
Oh no, that was Nigel Benn.
Shit. No, that was that Nigel Benn?
Nigel Benn, and he hurt Gerald McLennan.
Was it?
Yeah.
But no, I saw the interview with Eubanks Jr. Senior as well.
Was it Eubanks? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he was speaking. I don't know. Maybe it was both of the fighters had it. Because I watched him. He was crying.
Oh, okay.
Because he was telling him, he's like, "Yo, I'm sorry."
Oh yeah.
What I put you.
I think that was Nigel Benn. Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
Connor Benn's dad, I'm pretty sure.
No, it wasn't, because I sent the video to him. I'm like, because it was during the hype up during his, because he started crying on Chris Senior. He started crying during that interview.
Actually, okay, yeah.
And then he started apologizing to him. He's like, you know what? He's like, I'm sorry.
Maybe he did too, because I know that Nigel Benn did, but maybe Chris, maybe he did it too. That's crazy. Yeah, back in the day, because the amount of rounds, because people see the fights and like, oh, like, it's crazy back in the day, the fights that they had, how many fights they had, but then they're not realizing how many rounds of sparring they're doing on top of that, too. So, like, sparring, I feel like, damages you more than the fights, because the fight's one fight, right? Yeah. But those sparring, now you're doing rounds on rounds on rounds and rounds of sparring for the count. Yeah.
No, think about Muhammad Ali. Like, people loved him for his style, but, like, the rope-a-dope, whatever, like, he was dodging, but amount of time he got caught during that time, too, led him to, you know, his, like, inevitable getting all that, I think, Parkinson's and all that, like... and seeing such a legend in, not even as a boxer, but as a human being, and the legacy he left behind, and the changes were to come, like in the United States, period. That legacy, and then seeing the way he was during the Olympics when he brought the torch and all that, it was just like, man, like, it's the person is like small in his like image wise, but his bravado, who he is so huge, big, man. Right? But like, it's seeing him in that position is like, it breaks your heart, because like he poured his soul and everything to make the fights, make everybody be like, oh, like, this is Muhammad Ali's the greatest. Why is he the greatest? Like, because the way he put himself out there, his pre-interviews, the way he talks shit, even during the fight, the way he talks shit. Do you feel like you have that? Or you ever had that fighter be like, you know what? fuck this guy.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing with me is like my movement. I'll start smiling in the ring and stuff like. I don't talk too much shit, but like I'll like here and there. If they chirp me, I'll chirp them back. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sitting there talking shit all the time, but like I'll my style is like it pisses a lot of people off just because I'll have my hands down, make them miss. You know, I'll be smiling and stuff like that. I'll have fun. You know, so that it gets them mad when they're swinging, especially and they're missing you. So yeah.
Nah, it's such it's entertaining though, because that's what it is. At the end of the day, people want to be entertained.
Exactly.
You know, it's no matter what, whether it's boxing, basketball, baseball, hockey, people want to be entertained, and then watching your fights is entertaining because like you know they can't hit you, and they know as well they can't hit you. So it's like. Fuck this guy. He knows you can't hit him, but now it's like I look bad on the stage, like knowing that I can't even hit him. So it just looks like you're like that kid just having fun out there, bro.
Exactly.
Like that's what it looks like when you're having these fights. Just that's what it looks like, and you know that's such a beautiful thing too, though. Like just having that ability to just let loose and. You're like, you know what? I just enjoy this, you know? And where do you get that fun aspect from? Like, cause like, it's not easy to be just having the, as you said, like the camp, the mentality and all that, like knowing how to carry yourself. And when you put that all together, like, where's that fun aspect for you comes like once that fight is done? So once the fight is done, be like, okay, like, do you have that turn off switch? Because I remember we were talking with Gary. So we were talking about him. He's like, Ahmed, I get in dark places after fights.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's like, I don't know how to turn my head off. He's like, I used to get to a point where like, I don't want to be around my wife. I don't want to be around anybody. He's like, I used to get to the dark places. It's like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you're still young. You're like, you still like that excitement. Like, I think it's always there, but do you ever feel like once that fight is done, you're like, okay, if there's no fight set up, like, afterwards, you're like, okay, what do I do now? Because, like, a lot of people probably left you during this time, too, where, like, Eric doesn't want to come out. Oh, he's too good for us. Like, you know what I mean? You probably had that around you.
No, my friends, like, now they understand, obviously. Like, it takes everybody a while to understand, like, how the camp works, everything like that. But, yeah, no, they understand, like, when I'm in camp, I'm not going to go out like that. Maybe I'll go, like, on my cheat meal to go grab dinner with the boys or just chill out at somebody's house or something like that. Nothing crazy. But even yesterday, like, I went and hung out with my buddies, but we just chilled at the crib. Then, like, they were going to go downtown, and I went back home. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the biggest thing after a fight is not knowing what's next sometimes. It does stress you out sometimes. You're like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. Like, I need to find another option for a fight, this, that. But for me, I try not to get too much in my head to get, like, super upset about it. But, yeah, I don't know. I try to stay in, like, a happy, positive mode and just be like, okay, no, we do have another opportunity next. There is going to be something else. So, yeah.
Okay.
What do you think of like, I think you probably heard about, like, of course, of the, the ones that have played, fought a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, like, one of my favorite fighters for UFC is John Jones.
Yeah.
Right? So, in his past, like, he had his, like, he tested positive for a lot of, drugs and all that stuff. And I think the recent fight with Ryan Garcia, he has something about his past, too. So where do you think that comes from, like, with all this, like, unordinary things that you would not expect these pro-level players, fighters happen with? Like, where do you think that all this, with their experience with drugs and all that stuff, and it just comes out of nowhere? You wouldn't expect someone with a fighter.
Does it happen a lot? Sorry to add on. Do you feel like that doping and, like, people taking, like, steroids and whatnot? Because like in sometimes in the amateurs it can go unseen because you don't have the proper drug policies or this that. So now you're getting put in with this raging bull that's been ready to get unleashed because he's been on steroids or whatever, and now he gets in the ring, he's blasting people. Right?
Do you think it's like more of like in a sense like a coping method?
Yeah, I feel like with the roids, what it is I feel like sometimes they'll bring new people into their camp, whether it's a new strength coach or something like that. And maybe those guys kind of influence them, like, this might help you, performance enhancers, right? Like, I feel like that's what happens. But, yeah, honestly, I don't know. Everybody has their own mindset. Like, oh, yeah, I want to be the best. Maybe this is going to get me to be the best, right? So some people have their own mentality.
That's a good perspective, too. A lot of time, like, fighters don't know because some fighters willingly do it, but I don't think they're at the level where, like, they're at the top. I don't think those why would those boxers put themselves at risk? Knowing I'm on the grand stage, like even with the Garcia and Haney fight afterwards, like I don't know what he said the reasoning was.
He was saying for his strength coach was giving him supplements and he's like, I don't even know what I was taking.
Yeah,
like,
so
it was tainted or whatever.
Yeah.
So if he was telling the truth, then that's pretty messed up. But if he wasn't telling the truth, then I don't know.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, like, it kind of comes down to like kind of having respect for the sports.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because like if you're constantly on like whether you're cheating, if you're trying to find a way to cheat, that means you're not built for that.
Exactly.
Right?
You always want to be a level playing field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even the Grand Prix, we were all drug tested and stuff right before the fight. Like I actually got to the venue, and I had like a bunch of hours before my fight, so I was just chilling there. And they grabbed me, took me to the washroom. They're okay, yeah, piss test, whatever. So they kept it all clean there too. So it's good to know that, you know.
Have you felt like even doing your amateurs and the pros, like, is it kind of consistent when it comes to like the drug testing and whatnot, or how does it work? Or
Amateur, if you're on like local stage and stuff, it's not, you don't really get tested. But like when I was on Team Canada, we get random drug tests all the time, man. Like it was a lot. And then with pros, it's kind of similar. Like if you're fighting like lower stages, like local stuff, you're not really gonna get drug tested too much. But like when you're fighting like the bigger stages, then you're gonna get drug tested like a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then, you know, kind of going back to the boxing aspect, what was like that one camp you probably went to many camps in U.S. and fight and whatnot.
Yeah.
Have you ever like sparred someone and then you're like, oh shit, like you got humbled a little. They're like, wait, you know, this person like, because I remember you were talking when I came down earlier, you were like, you know, I went to these camps and like I was holding my own.
Yeah.
And these people like, damn, who is this kid?
Yeah.
You know, like when you had that, when you go into different camps and whatnot, like, is there certain people you be like that catches you off guard, or like, how do you stay in the mindset, be like, okay, I can't take this person lightly?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have the mentality like, he can't hang with me.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just random. Like for example, even for you, a lot of people might underestimate you. Like, who's this brown kid? We never heard of him. There's no way.
I feel like a lot of people probably underestimate me if they don't know me, right?
Exactly.
And when I never underestimated nobody, because I know everybody is capable of doing something, right? Even if they're not the best, maybe they got power behind the shot or something, right? So like I'm never underestimating somebody. But there was one kid from Wildcard we sparred down in Cali when I was down there with Freddie Roach guy's gym and stuff like that, and he was really good. But like it was almost like how I fought this last guy. It was a very like technical sparring. We weren't throwing that many punches, but he had a similar style to me, and I was like the same speed as him, and I'm really fast, so I was like, okay, this guy's fast too, right? So it was like he'd counter me, then I'd counter him. It was like back and forth. So he was probably one of my tougher sparrings, like throughout my camps and stuff like that. I wouldn't say it humbled me, but it just made me step up even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, how about with because you'll notice like people that do watch when there is a match.
Yeah.
You know, they don't really understand like the patience behind it.
Exactly.
So like even though if you guys might not throw punches, you're really trying to figure out like, you know, what's their style and everything like that.
100%.
But then people are like, why the fuck is this guy not throwing punches and shit like that, right? Because they want that energy, that all the stuff. Like what goes behind your mind when you're looking at a person, when that person, your opponent's in front of you? What do you look at when you're trying to figure out like how to beat him?
Exactly. So that's when we start like, say someone's in front of me and I can't figure it out, I'll start throwing some feints. I'll maybe step over to the side a little bit. Maybe I see something else, or step over to the other side. Maybe I see a different punch that I could land. Because if I just go in there and I start just throwing like a dumbass, then I'm gonna get clipped with something, right? So I take my time. I try to figure out the guy. You kind of got to block out the noise around you. You know what I mean? Like, you hear people yelling, like, you know, like, throw. But, like, I can't just throw and I'm going to get hit with something, right? Exactly, right? I'm not in the sport to just, like, brawl and just, like, you know? I don't want to be known as a tough fighter. I want to be known as a good fighter, like a great fighter. You know what I mean?
And that's it kind of goes back to kind of what Mayweather said, too. He's like, man, I don't want to get out of this sport making as much money as I can for my family and get out healthy. That was his main thing. He's like, I don't want to be caught with like dumb punches. And then that's the one thing that a lot of people criticize Tank for too, because I don't know, like Tank, like I don't know if you know Javante Tank.
I heard
Yeah. So it's like he chills off first couple rounds.
Yeah.
Like you see, like even like the Rolly fight. Remember?
Yeah.
They said, everybody said like Rolly was winning. Rolly was winning up to like third or fourth round. And then as you said, like that anxiousness, like I'm winning. So he starts going crazy and get caught with that one wrong punch and it's good night for you. Exactly. And that's how crazy of a support of boxing is. That one small mistake, it ends that night.
Ends the whole fight, 100%.
It's done. So how do you process that though? You know you're down 2 rounds, 3 rounds. But like, okay, how do I shift that mindset? Be like, okay, I got to start being more aggressive, but in a smart manner. I can't just start, wailing at a person.
No, for sure.
Like, do you feel like you set your opponents up? Like, even if, like, you know what, as you said, you study this person. Yeah. Okay, he likes to be aggressive. Let him think that he has me. But then right when he think he has me, there's something coming for him.
Exactly. So, like, every opponent's different, right?
Yeah.
But I feel the guy's pressing me and, like, maybe he's up a couple rounds. I'm like, okay, now I got to find a different tactic and I got to find a shot that's going to maybe stun him a little bit and then like go from there. So yeah, if I feel like the guy's pressing me a lot and I can't find anything, I'm gonna go back to the corner, and that's where my coach is gonna help me be like, hey, like this shot's open. I want you to try to find it, that. Try to find that shot the next round. If it lands, it lands. If not, then we gotta adjust again. Biggest thing in boxing people don't realize is adjusting. You gotta adjust because sometimes you have a plan. The whole camp you'll have a plan. You get in the ring and it doesn't work. You're like, oh shit, now I gotta adjust it, you know? There was one fight, I think it was my third fight, and I knew I was fighting this like crazy pressure guy. And the first round he comes out, he threw like a big jab and I countered it, hit him with a big right hand. The rest of the fight he was on his back foot. So now I had to press him. And we weren't ready for that. We were just ready for him to suppress, you know? So like the rest of the fight, I was just pressing him. So, you know, you got to adjust a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. Yeah. And, you know, one thing I wanted to ask is like, you know, we always see these videos of like people in training camps. Yeah. Like Mayweather's out here like waking up at 3 a.m. He's running at like 11 a.m. Like he's always in craziest condition. What's your day look like? So let's say now you have a fight coming up in June. Yeah. Like as you guys are ramping up your boxing, like as you guys are ramping up in camp, what does a day look like? What time you wake up? What do you eat? Like, is everything's like really like cut to the T? Like, okay, this is how I gotta be. Yeah, like,
it's usually like? So usually my coach will like print me out like a calendar, and it'll be like, okay, this morning you're doing this, at night you're doing this. So every day I'll have a different specific thing. Like this camp, it might be a little different from last camp. You know what I mean? So like tomorrow I have S&C, like strength and conditioning. So then tomorrow I believe it's at 10. So I'll wake up at like 8, have a good breakfast. Get ready to go there. It's in Poco, so I'll go to Poco, and then I'll do my S&C, whether it's like heavy lifting, and then at the end I'll have like hard sprints on the Airdyne bike or whatever it might be, and then later that night I'll have like a nice long easy run, and then the next day it's gonna be boxing in the morning, and then it might be sprints at night. Like it's always 2 different things every day. Yeah, so it's like always planned out like that.
Did you ever get to the point where like, man, like I don't want to do this? You ever feel like those nights? Like, how do you get through those nights too? Be like, holy shit, like I'm dying out here. Like, how do you get through those nights?
I'll never be like, oh, I never want to. Like, I don't want to do this, but I'll be like, damn, my body's like hurting right now, and I'm like, I'm sore. But like, honestly, I try to like refuel myself properly with like nutrition. I'll try to eat the proper vitamins, everything like that. And if that's not working, then then I'm just like, I'm sitting in bed like ducky, you know, like, I'm hurting. I'm like, okay, next morning I got to do the same thing, you know? Because no matter what, I have to go in the next day, whether I'm sore, whether I'm feeling good. So just kind of, you got to have that strong mentality, like, no, I'll be fine, you know? I'll be good.
And then with, what do you look at for, like, what we don't really usually talk about often is just with athletes is just the financial toll. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So people usually think about that once you become a fighter and then you have your matches and stuff, like you're making money. Right? So, and this is another aspect of it too, is just like a lot of athletes, like, cause I represent college athletes, right? So I try to find them brand deals and stuff like that. And we were actually talking about some brands where some athletes will work with sponsorships, like with brands, even though their product is shit, right? So it's not healthy for them. I'm not going to call out brands and stuff like that, but I think you kind of got just of what you're talking about. But like, so do you think like a lot of professional athletes that do work with these brands, they don't really look at it, they just look at more of a financial aspect? And like, do you think that they don't understand their own self-worth, so they do it out of desperation because they're not making money out of these matches? That they just look at these brands and like, okay, I'm making a buck or two, you know?
Exactly. So I feel like, honestly, like that's the biggest thing. Sometimes these guys aren't making what they want, so they're like, okay, now we need to find other resources, and that might be the resource for them. And they're like, even though they don't believe in the product or they don't like it, they're like, I'll promote it, it's gonna help me out at the end of the day. For me, I've been blessed because I've had good sponsorships behind me and everything like that, which helps me throughout my camps and my fights and stuff like that. And even as an amateur, so like on Team Canada, that's the only time you ever get paid as a athlete, right? And even the pay for that is like whatever. It's like a government. It's like almost like a government job. You get paid every 2 weeks. It's not per fight.
There's like a couple thousand, like, cause like we hear these figures all the time, but like lower end boxers, like sometimes you don't even get paid much. Like a couple $1,000s for like every fight. I don't know if you saw the press conference after the Conor Ben fight as well. Where, no, I think it was Prix, where Junior was saying that he'll pay out the fighters because apparently the camps weren't compensated or something. Oh, okay, so he gave him like 3,000 to like I think 15 fighter. And that goes to show, but like, yo, wait, if you're not at the top of the level, like you're not making
much money.
And trying to pursue this as a full-time thing,
100%.
Where's the money coming from? Where's the camp? Paying for the coach.
Exactly.
Nutrition is not cheap, especially nowadays. It's so like, how do you, where does that money come from? And even like people that want to pursue it, like, how do you go about that? Because it's not easy.
It's not easy. Like I said, like you have to have a good team around you, and then you got to have sponsorships, this, that. Like, you gotta have all those aspects helping you. It's a community thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, like when I was amateur too, that was the hardest thing. Like as a pro now, I kind of already set my name from the amateurs. Like that was like my resume.
Yeah.
So when I'm in the pros, like people already know who I am now. But in the amateurs, like even on Team Canada, like you're not getting paid much because like I said, it's like a salary, and the salary is like whatever. It's not very good. Yeah, it's not very good. That's for most like Team Canada athletes, except if you're playing hockey or like the
it's different
Canadian sports. You know what I mean? And like the biggest thing was my parents would help me out because sometimes like traveling's expensive. You know what I mean? Like especially for those fights, like because Team Canada wouldn't always cover the travel for like our fights, which was and like it's kind of weird. You know what I mean?
So when you guys when you're on Team Canada and then you gotta fly out, whatever, accommodations and all that.
Like that's for covered? A lot of the tournaments, it wasn't. Only tournaments it was covered for was like I think it was World Championships even covered? I don't even know if World Championships was covered.
That's insane.
Olympics is covered because that's Sports Canada. That's not Team Canada boxing. That's Sports Canada, and then Commonwealth Games is paid for by Sports Canada too. So
that's crazy.
Like those other tournaments that we're doing, going to like Czech Republic, all these other places that we've been to all over South America, we'd have to cover that, like our hotel, our plane, whatever. And the biggest thing for me was we do fundraisers and stuff like that. And like the community would support me, so that always helped me. Yeah, that always helped me a lot.
I think that's such a good talking point though.
Yeah,
a lot of people like because Canada is a small market when it comes to sports. Like in US, money flows left, right, and center.
Yeah,
because like it's more prevalent. There's more people there, but in Canada we don't have that as much. So
for sure.
It's like there's so many players. I mean, so many boxers or even players, doesn't matter. That probably didn't pursue the journey. They're like, I can't afford this.
It's
I can't afford like 10K, 20K for a camp. Like having the coach is probably even more. Like I don't know what the cost is. But they're like, I can't hold this. And then it kind of goes to speaking on the grand scheme of things. I think there needs to be more some sort of funding that's flowing in when it comes to the Canadian sport, where they're supporting athletes. When you're not supporting your hometown athletes, like there is no platform for these athletes to grow.
Exactly.
And then they take their talent. You know what? I'm going to the U.S. because there's way more opportunity. There's better everything, competition. So now there's like all this talent that's in Canada is leaving to the overseas, whatever it may 100%. Be. And then when you look at the scene in Canada, it's like, whoa. So I think in general, like there needs to be a better infrastructure place, needs to be placed where they're supporting athletes. I don't know how that's going to work or what the governing body is, but there needs to be something done where we're supporting our athletes more. Because even if you compare, let's say like NHL and whatnot, right? Like predominantly it was known in Canada to be like a great sport, but when you compare it to other sports, there's barely any money that goes to it. Like a top player like McDavid is getting paid like 16 mil. That's a bench player in NBA.
No, exactly.
Right? But obviously NBA is worldwide compared to like hockey. It's not worldwide, right?
Worldwide,
but that's different though. But I do feel like there's a void within Canadian culture where I don't know what it is. What do you think it is that money that doesn't flow? Do you ever had the talk with your coaches where like, why isn't there enough support for the athletes within Canada? Because a lot of them, their dreams die because they don't have support with them, you know?
Honestly, I've never had this real talk with my coach about it. I haven't.
Whatever it is,
I do understand it though. Like it is kind of weird why there's not that much support behind the athletes in Canada, and then people wonder why Canadian sports aren't growing. Yeah, we need that support to grow. You know what I mean? So it's
like imagine you come from nothing. Your parents are working minimum job, and the kid's like, I love this. I'm passionate about it, but they can't support you.
And especially if the kid has talent and he can make it. So it's kind of it's unfortunate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a sad part about sometimes sport is it's like you have the immense amount of talent. It's just the system sometimes doesn't allow you to rise up to it, you know. But that's a discussion for a different day. But, you know, one thing I want to talk to you about, Eric, is what keeps you grounded? This is the one thing Mo kind of touched on. What keeps you grounded in life? Like having whether you're in a relationship, like whether your girlfriend or your friends. Yeah. What kept you like, you know what, like, okay, not to like, okay, I have this bravado about me, because you have that swagger about you do, right? But how do you keep grounded to yourself? Be like, okay, my greater purpose in life is this. I want to promote my family name. I want to promote, our religion, Sikhi, like that warrior in us. We all have something in us,
exactly,
right? did that always push you and feel like that grounded you to be like, okay, there's something waiting back for me at home that I want to make them proud?
No, 100%. Like, I always want to make my family proud. And they're my driving point. My family always, like, I want to make them proud. I want to do it for them. But the biggest thing is I had all this success and it's been all great, but it can get taken away just as fast. You know what I mean? So that's why you stay humble. If you're cocky, it gets taken away tomorrow. Everybody's going to be like, who's this shithead, right? Exactly. You got to be proper. And, like, the way you treat people is how you want to be treated, right? So, like, that's what I've always believed.
You know, one thing I know this is gonna be a dumb question, but you know, one thing we always talk about, like, you know, Jake Paul guys, like, I mean, Jake Paul, in boxers in general, the toll it takes on relationships. Like, imagine having a girlfriend. You're going on camps for 6-8 weeks, but like, yo, I don't want to be bothered. Because like, bro, it's just hard. No, you're coming from like a workload of day, and you come home and like, how do you have that energy, and does that drain you sometimes, like, or your partner doesn't understand? You ever had that with your partner? Or
honestly, the biggest thing is my girlfriend, I kind of told her before we started dating, like, this is the situation, like, this is how my training is, you know, sometimes it's like a big toll, and she understood. So she understood it. Obviously, like, I understand from her perspective too. It is frustrating sometimes, like, when I'm training so much and I'm tired, whatever. She doesn't, honestly, she's been like great. She's understood everything. So honestly, like, I'm blessed for that, for sure.
That's right. No, because you know what I was talking about with Jake Paul guys, because all the athletes were saying they're like, oh, they don't have no intercourse, no nothing before like fight nights. It's like, even like what Mike Tyson said, he's like, I would go in fights, like, he's like, I would have no sex, no nothing before like months and months before the fight, and he's like, I'm just releasing all this animosity at this poor guy.
He's a different animal though. That guy is something else. I don't know. He's a whole different animal.
He's like, I want to hurt people when I walk in there. He's like, I used to pray. He's like, I used to pray, but he's like, not for me. He's like, for them.
That guy's just a different kind of banda, man. That guy is something else, man. That guy's crazy.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting. Does that even help though? Like, when people go there?
Yeah, it does. Because obviously you're pushing your body to the max throughout your training, right? And you want to hold in any energy that you can retain, right? So like, that's what it is. You don't want any like outer focus. Because honestly, I played other sports growing up. Soccer, basketball, all these other sports. Boxing is more of a lifestyle than a sport because you gotta be a boxer inside and outside the ring. You know what I mean? Whereas basketball, of course, like, if you're a high level athlete, that's your like duty. But say, like you said, you have an off day, your team might pick up the slack.
Exactly.
Like, you saw Luka was sick when he played. I think it was on their third game.
LeBron put up like 39.
Yeah, and then Luka put up like 17. He had an off day. He was sick. You know, obviously, like, that makes sense. But if we're sick in the ring, it's just me.
What are you gonna do?
Exactly. I can't rely on somebody else to fight for me. You know what I mean? So that's where it's a little different.
Is that scary though? Like, now, let's walk into like the fighter mentality. Yeah. You're walking down. You know, you're walking down to the ring. It's people. There's madness all over. Now, for you, is it like a tunnel vision thing? How do you prepare yourself? Because like, man, like, it's you versus yourself. When you get in the ring, you're looking around. Like, do you block that noise out? Because like, there's hella people probably cheering, and that noise is coming in. Like, what is that mindset like? How do you prepare for that? Because you know you're walking down the ring, but like, bro, okay. Like, it's not easy, bro. Because like, I tried sparring one time, but like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it's not easy, man. I think I died in the first 2-3 minutes, bro. Bro, holy shit. It gave me such a profound respect for boxers, or even people that in mixed martial period. Because bro, like, the amount of cardio it requires to be just punching for like, even like, you know, those hitting the bags or whatever, this shit is hard.
It's not easy.
So like, how do you prepare yourself for that? Like, walking down the ring, it's just you and yourself, and you're like, okay, what is that? Do you like quietness in the like, when you sit in the back room? Do you like it quiet, or do you want like pump up music, or like, what is it that you do?
Well, it just matters on the setting. So say if we have a big changing room, and there might be some other athletes in the changing room, you kind of sometimes share a big change room, like a big room, right? And they're on their side, I'm kind of on my side. I do prefer a little bit more quiet on my side. I'll have my headphones on, get my gauze wrapped by my coach, do my pads, warm up, whatever. I do like it kind of chill. Backstage is where I feel more anxious to get in the ring. I'll be like, I just want to go in the ring, right? Like, I'm feeling anxious to get in the ring. But as soon as I get back, like, before they call your name out, you're kind of backstage, whatever. As soon as my name gets announced and my music starts playing and I hear the crowd, that's when I lock in, I feel comfortable, which is kind of weird. That's usually when people feel more nervous. I feel more comfortable. I feel at home, you know what I mean? And that keeps me sharp. In the fight, especially when I hear people cheering, there's a bunch of noise, it keeps me kind of sharp.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, okay, now I gotta perform. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, interesting. Because like I guess for you, like waiting in that waiting room, it's like an hour goes by, 2 hours goes by. It's like building up. Like, man, I just want to go.
Yeah.
Like I want to go now. Like so, I guess it makes sense. Like being anxious in that sense. And I think I don't think people realize how that's like your greatest battle. A lot of the times, it's like that anxious, just getting over that hurdle. How did 100%. You like? Were you when you were younger? Did you ever feel like the anxiousness got the best of you sometimes? Where like, you know what, like you were timid in fights and like did the coaches, and how did that kind of, you overcame that?
There was one experience when I was probably about 14 and I don't know what was happening that day. I don't know what was going through my mind that day, and I was very anxious, nervous. I think maybe I just didn't eat properly for like, there was probably a bunch of different things, right?
Yeah.
And from that fight, I didn't fight my best. I didn't perform my best. But then I thought of it. I'm like, I could have picked it up. I could have done this. I could have done so many things in this fight that was like, it was easy. So I fought that same guy like a month later, 2 months later, and it was like a completely different fight. I just didn't get in my head. I didn't do this, and it was like, it was easy. And I was like, why didn't I do this from the beginning, right? So after that, I kind of just figured, I'm like, yo, like I have the goods to beat these guys. Why am I not using it? You know what I mean? So yeah.
What do you think is the biggest risk you've taken in regards to your career? Like that one fight was like a hit or miss kind of thing, and then once you got past that, then it just skyrocketed your career.
Exactly. Well, for the amateurs, it was probably, like I said, winning nationals.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys from, say if they're really good as youths, from 16 to 17, like they're really good because now you're fighting teenagers, right? They jump up to that senior level. They might take that first year off and then go senior the next year because they're 19 then. Maybe they gain a little bit more weight, like muscle and stuff like that. That was the biggest thing. I turned 18 and now I'm fighting grown men like 25 years old, like 30-year-olds, you know? And that was the biggest risk I took, but it paid off because I developed strength and stuff like quite fast. Like I had like man strength when I was 18, so it helped me. Like it helped me a lot at my weight class, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was good, but that was the biggest risk in the amateurs. And then for the pros, this last fight was the biggest risk because I entered this tournament and no fight in this tournament is an easy fight. Every single guy is a prospect, whether they're from Ukraine, whether they're from USA, wherever they're from, they're all prospects, good fighters. So it's like somebody's always got to go, you know what I mean? Like everybody's pretty much undefeated in this tournament, so it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And one thing you talked about, like we talked about, is risk. You know, I always it's funny because like people ask me, they're like, I mean, like how have you never gone in a fight ever, like street fight? Because I don't advocate for. I'm not a violent person, but people don't realize how dangerous that actually is. Like street fights, like in general, like being in that environment, because like people don't realize like it can one small thing, so you know like what you're capable of.
100%.
Right. Do you ever had that, like, where somebody down the street or even here, there, like, somebody's trying to pick on that fight, and then you have to constrain yourself, be like, you know what, I know how this can harm. I'm not going to indulge in this kind of foolishness where this person doesn't know any better. Do you ever feel like, you know what, like, I'm not going to entertain myself at that, like, for myself with that
honestly,
kind of noise?
Nobody really presses me because I'm pretty, like, chill.
They're like, no.
They already know.
No, say if it's a random dude even, I'm a pretty laid back guy, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty chill. I'm never, like, starting I already fight every day of my life. I don't need to fight outside the ring, right? There has been problems when I was like maybe like a teenager, and I was trying to like break up a fight and somebody started swinging at me. Like you gotta like defend yourself, right? So like maybe something like that. But like me, I've never gone out of my way to get in a street fight because like I said, like I'm sparring every day, I'm fighting, you know, like I don't need to do that, right? And I'm not gonna hurt somebody for no reason because like
people don't realize that, bro.
People think because like maybe they work out, maybe they do a little bit of boxing, they think, oh yeah, like I can smash this guy, but it's a whole different game, man. Like especially with someone that knows how to punch, it's not. It's
like that video that Bradley Martin always talks about, right?
Oh,
he's like, I'm 260 though. And then Davin Haney's like, he's like, I will piece you up so fast before you even get to me. He's like, you'll be on the floor. It's like people think like brute strength is like
it doesn't correlate, to be honest. Like, because I've seen big dudes and they came to the boxing gym and bro, they're punching lighter than the kids because they have so much muscle they can't even torque their punches. You know what I mean? So it's like what the hell?
Yeah, it's true. That's what I was kind of getting into. People don't realize, man, like when you're in a street fight setting, like avoid it at all costs.
Exactly.
Like you could get hit in the chin or temple or somewhere, drop to the concrete,
and smash your head.
Like so much stuff can go wrong.
100%.
And like for kids out there that like even surround themselves with the environment, man, get away from that.
Yeah, just get into boxing if you want to.
Yeah,
if you want to fight, go into boxing.
Like
a controlled environment. You know what I mean?
Be in a controlled environment where like if you are just genuinely aggressive, like find a portal to take that out on rather than, you know, trying to hurt yourself or other people where it can lead to tragedies, you know?
Yeah,
so, and aside from that, man, like what's next for you, man? Aside from the fight that you coming from in June, right? Aside from that, what is it that, you know, when you look back, like, you know what, this is what legacy Eric wants to leave behind, or this is what I want to do. Do you ever feel like you feel like that sense of pressure? I want to leave something behind that's for the people in our community to be like, you know what, like, I want to be like Eric. Do you ever feel that chip on your shoulder to be like, you know what, this is what I leave behind, and this is what I got put forth?
100%. Like, I'm put like crazy thought into this, because obviously I'm still in my
young,
career, right? Exactly. So, but I do want to leave a legacy behind for other South Asian kids. Doesn't matter where they're from, but I want them to know that they can do it too. Because like you said, like a lot of brown parents are like, yeah, we want you to become doctors, lawyers, and obviously that's great. But sometimes the kids really don't want to do that, right? They want to have their opportunities being maybe a ball player. Maybe they want to be a singer. Maybe they want to do this, that. I just want to show them that they can do that, you know, get to that next level. So that's the biggest legacy that I want to leave behind for sure too.
Yeah, that's fair, man. And then after like June, I guess, when is that final? Like if they were to like, when is the ending though? Is it end of this year or next year? Probably going
I think it'd be either end of this year or beginning of next year.
Next year?
Around that time,
Yeah. So you're in that, so the last fight in your division, how many fighters were there altogether?
There was 32.
So 30, so you're on the 16th?
Now it's going to be 16.
16,
and then,
okay.
So it goes down half.
Who are you fighting
time.
next?
Ukraine.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough fight. Not an easy fight, but me and my coach have been sitting there studying a little bit.
Yeah?
So,
okay.
yeah.
When is that? June
20th, I believe.
June 20th? Okay.
Either June 20th or 22nd. It's around there. It's around there.
I'll be definitely tuned in. I was tuned into your last fight with my mom. Yeah. My mom's like, yo, he's up. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, let's go. It's cool to see, man. I love supporting people in the community, like, period. So, like, seeing you on a grand stage where, like, you're leaving a mark for our community, it's crazy. It's great to see, man. And, you know, man, good luck on that next fight. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah,
like, you know, I can't wait. And then, you know, last two things I want to ask, you know, like, I was talking to Mook, you know, there's 2 segments I want to do with him. Yeah. Let's say you're building a perfect fighter. You know, you've probably heard this, like, when it comes to IQ, speed, defense, and, like, feet work. Okay. What would you say? Let's say IQ. Who would you pick?
IQ, I say Mayweather.
IQ, okay.
He was so smart when he boxed, right? Like, I say Mayweather for IQ for sure.
And then defense-wise, would you say Mayweather too then?
Defense, I say Sweet Pea, Pernell Whitaker. That guy had really good defense.
Interesting.
Yeah. His defense was crazy, man.
Wow.
Once he won a round without punching. I'm not even lying.
Really?
Yeah, you can switch it up. Yeah, Pernell Whitaker, man.
Wow. Punching.
He just made the guy miss the whole round. Yeah, he's crazy. Pernell Whitaker is crazy, man. Watch him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's good,
and then what about for speed?
For speed, I'd probably do either Pacquiao or Amir Khan.
Amir Khan was freaking
he was fast too, man. Yeah, so probably Amir Khan. Yeah, Amir Khan.
Okay, and then what about for your feet work?
Footwork, probably Lomachenko.
Lomachenko?
Yeah, he has good footwork, man.
Wow, I would say like Roy Jones or somebody.
Roy Jones, Roy Jones for sure. But Lomachenko, he just used to cut angles. Like, especially now he's getting a little bit older. But like before in his prime, man, like the angles he used to cut were crazy.
You know,
man.
actually, I saw this in your last fight. The way you cut that, you know how when you kind of when you turn your body?
Yeah.
I saw that, like how you were doing this so well. Like every time that person, like the pressure would get to you, you would turn your body with that little, you would give them a
when I turn off a little? Yeah.
Because like a lot of people don't realize like how smart that it is. So, okay. And then one thing I want to ask for, like last one is, if you had to be like a Mount Rushmore, your top 4 of all time, whether it's lightweight, heavyweight, doesn't matter what it is. Who would you pick? It could be anybody.
So 4 people, right?
Anybody, 4 people. It doesn't have to be in order.
I say Muhammad Ali just for impact. Yeah. And that's not just even like just purely based on boxing skill. That's like outside the ring, everything, right? Yeah. So Muhammad Ali, I'd have to say Roy Jones just because that's my dude. Roy Jones in his prime.
Ain't no one touching him.
Untouchable. I say Sugar Ray Leonard. And then I'd probably have to give it to just Mayweather.
Yeah. You got to. There's no way you can.
I'd have to.
Okay. Sure. Well, on that note, man, that's a wrap on our side, man. Eric, man, I appreciate you guys coming in and taking time out of your day, bro.
100%. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, no. So, what was the date again? June?
It's like June 20th, June 22nd.
Yeah, around there. Yeah. Okay. I want everybody to tune in. Yeah. Podcast will be up by then. Y'all better tune into that fight, man. This kid got talent, bro. It's an up-and-coming fighter that everybody should be excited for. The sport should be excited for you, bro. I can't wait for the journey you go on, man.
Thank you,
And on that note, take care, guys. See you on the next one.
See you.
Thanks.